All right. Good afternoon and good evening. You guys heard her. And welcome everybody that's here. Tonight is a very special night. This is the second day of Passover. Those of you guys that are honoring Passover, shalom. Shalom. And I'm glad. And those of you guys that have no idea what I'm talking about, you know what? I love y'all too. It's cool. It's totally fine, man. Anyway, Natasha, welcome. I'm glad you made it too. I'm sorry we didn't make it on the laptop. We don't get to see you, but at least I know we get to hear you. And
Absolutely.
glad you're here.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. It's always nice to be here.
Well, I'm glad, and I'm glad that the grandkids didn't for us tonight. That was nice of them. Tell them I said thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. He decided he wants to come stay with Mama, so I had to go get him. You know how that is. So I stay with you.
Well, once
Yeah.
upon a time, those were the good old
Yeah.
days. I don't even know what those days are like anymore, but tell them to enjoy them while they last.
Exactly.
Exactly. Anyway, well, you know what? It's time to light the candles. Again, welcome everybody to the call. We're here. This is for entertainment purposes only. It's not meant to hurt anybody's feelings. We're not going to be talking about drugs. We're not going to be talking about alcohol or any of that other stupid, nefarious stuff that I get accused for with TikTok. So all of you guys in TikTok, go back to your coffee break and leave us alone. We're going to be talking about the late great David Straight. Gosh, it almost sounds like a Kool-Aid, right?
Mm.
The late great David Straight. So tonight, that's kind of what I wanted to focus the call on. I mean, we've all heard that he passed away. April the 2nd? That's what I heard, and that's what it was published, at least from one of his constituents. They said it was April the 2nd. Interesting, huh?
That is, but did we ever get like confirmation like that he actually did pass away, or he just went in hiding, or because we always want to
I
know.
don't know, man. What do you guys think out there? Oh, you guys in TikTok land, what do you guys think about, or you guys in Facebook land? What do you guys think? Is this guy out hiding? I mean, why would he be hiding? Natasha, why would this guy be hiding? Really? And honestly, this isn't meant to hurt anybody's feelings either. So we're just
Well,
going to throw some conjecture up in the air and see what sticks. And if you guys agree, disagree, jump in and throw some comments in. We're open, or you're not going to hurt my feelings. Go ahead.
no, I mean, as far as me, with the repudiation of his citizenship, and then especially with Trump in office, if you're not a citizen here, you got to go, and technically he's not a citizen, along with Kenny Plaster and some other people that promote the state nationals and stuff like that. And then, I mean, with some of the things that he actually, tries to teach, and if they're not working or somebody gets in trouble, I mean, unfortunately, I would see some threats against him. I mean, I don't know if they would be severe enough for him to either go in hiding and fake his death, or, what the case may be. But I think it's just, we can't get a definite confirmation, and again, I mean, if it is true, condolences to the family, most definitely, but, inquiring minds want to know.
Well, I mean, I kind of do. And, but this isn't uncommon. We've had a lot of teachers that have kind of, they kind of peaked out. And I
Mm-hmm.
mean, in other words, they made all they were going to make. And I mean, and they just did. And I mean, they hit the top of their pinnacle, and they just weren't going to get any better than that. And, Patrick Devine was one of those teachers. He was one of those teachers that peaked out and then all of a sudden got sick, disappeared. And with a name like Patrick Devine, I'm going to tell you that's not his real name. I knew him personally, and Devine is not his last name. This is why, if you research, those of you guys out there, if you guys research any of his legal stuff that's actually filed in courtrooms, not stuff on web pages and people's opinions and stuff like that. I'm talking about if you're going in and you're looking up some of his stuff to see any of his lawsuits, his supposed lawsuits he had filed, and all these people that were supposedly out to get him and this and that. I'm going to tell you, I don't see a lot. I see a lot of similarities between these two, and basically how they kind of ducked out and disappeared. You know what?
Yeah, because I mean, I know there's another, what's her name, April somebody, she
April
Lejeune or
Lejeune.
something. Yeah, I've heard, her getting some threats because of what she was teaching was not correct. And, I mean, it's even when you're listening to us, it's always do your due diligence, again, because we're not attorneys, we're not financial
That's right.
advisors,
That's right.
absolutely not. This is just things that we've done on our own accord and, found that they work, and
Exactly.
and we're just doing a public service and sharing our knowledge with people.
That's right.
So
And I mean, that's ultimately what we're doing. And I just, but there's no reason to get everybody. And I'll just say this, what I've noticed on TikTok is that, if you put some utter nonsense out there, like, hey, you can go buy a car with, uh, proof of purchases from your Cheerios box. Okay. If some guy came up with that idea and said that we're going to put it out on TikTok, that would have 10 million views. I mean, it would blow up everywhere. And it seems to me like our social media markets thrive on feeding us confusion. I'm going to tell you, they really do, because you get somebody like me and they knock my views down to nothing. They don't let me share anything. Everything that I post is automatically up for review. Get that
hmm
right, Houston County, Texas. I see y'all. I see what you guys are doing. Glad you guys tuned in today, though. It's nice to see you guys here. Too bad they weren't on the call. We'd love to have you on for a special guest anytime. We have
absolutely.
questions. Any tyrannical
Well,
questions.
yeah. And I think kind of going back to people, like what David Straight and other teachers out there, and they're putting their stuff out there. And I think, like you said, they're watching them and they're like, oh, that's not going to work, or that 1099 is not going to work. Just leave them alone. You know what I mean? But
Yep.
whenever it comes to like with views, they're like, oh, no, that does work. Because I can tell you, going in the bank and asking for certain things, they look at me and they kind of back up a little bit. But like, how you know that? But like, don't worry about how I know that. I just know that.
And it's really
So,
funny because it's just like you totally get to look under their hood, and then all of a sudden you're like in the group
mm,
now, and they mad.
yeah. Oh, yeah. Or to hear crickets on the other end of the phone. I called my bank and said, hey, I need to set up for, my special stamp, and they're like, what? How do you know about that? What's going on? What? Like, I don't know. We don't have people call and ask for that. And I'm like, well, now you
I'm
do.
not- well, people don't do commerce. Only entities do. That's your answer to that.
Yeah. And yeah, that's very true,
I mean, there you go, man.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm
Yeah.
so sorry. They're saying it's buffering really bad and they can't hear me on here on TikTok. Man, I am so sorry, you guys. Hold on, let's see if I can get this a little better. Let's see. See if I can switch. Well, no, I'm connected. Let's see. Let's see. I'm gonna jump on this one and see what happens. All right. Hopefully TikTok will forgive me and hopefully this will work. Let me know if this is working better for you. I hope this is working better. I just changed over. It's going to get weird here for a minute and then it should even out. So just hang in there, everybody. It should even out here in just a minute. Hopefully that is much better. Is it better? I hope it's better. Please let me know if it's better. Thank you for letting me know. Beauty Babes Organics. I appreciate that. That is really nice of you. Thank you so much. I hope everybody else is able to hear me okay. I hope that this is coming through okay. Is it better? I hope this is better. If you could just let me know if you can hear this a little bit better. But anyway, getting back to what we were talking about, and hopefully this is good. And welcome to the call, everybody. Glad you guys are all here, by the way. And like I said, we're talking about tonight's call. We're talking about David Straight. We're talking about the late, great David Straight. That's right. And it's not meant to hurt anybody's feelings. We're just throwing some ideas up in the air. Wanted to know what you guys think. Right on. Wanted to know what you guys thought about it because, I mean, it's David Straight, and the funny thing is that he said he showed up on the market like 20 years ago or something, right? Something like that. Have you heard that, Natasha?
Yeah, he's been doing it for a while, from what I understand. I think I know it. Well, I didn't come to learn to him till about 3-4 years ago, maybe somewhere up in there. So
Same. And I'm going to tell you, I woke up in 2015 and I didn't know who this guy was. So, and I don't think he really came around until, I don't think he got public until then. But one of the things that he was really known for is plagiarizing books and literally putting himself in the books and going up there and doing a speech and just killing it. Welcome, Jamie. Hey, welcome, Jamie. Jamie's here on the call. Well, come into the Uber conference, Jamie. I sent you the address. It's in your email. Look in your email. Jamie's here. It's very exciting. Jamie's here. Jamie's going to tell us all about this stuff that's going on with David Straight. So come in. Come on. Go. Come on. We miss you. Glad you're here. I cannot wait to bring Jamie in. Wait till you meet Jamie. Natasha, she is absolutely amazing. Totally on point. And I'm going to tell you, she's probably one of the bravest females I've ever seen in a courtroom. Okay. And I'm just going to say it like that. 30 to 35 years was the claim. Terrell Smith says that he's been around for 35 years. No, Jamie, I can't resend. I'm live right now. How could I resend? What do you want me to tell her? Oh, hold on a second. I got to go do. That's only one of me. There's no operator standing by over here. So really, you need to do is if you'd like to join us here, you can go to meetings. Write this down. meetings.dialpad.com/Yahweh. And that's YAHWEH. You sent the request. What'd you send a request for? Don't send any requests, Jamie. Just type in this URL address. meetings.dialpad.com/Yahweh. And come on in. We'd love to have you. Yeah, I know that he said he was 35 years. And I mean, how old was he? He was like, what? How old was he? Well, actually, you know what? Jamie will know whenever Jamie gets in. Let's see. Let's see if I can do this. Let's see.
So the one thing with David, though, in all the teachings, and the one thing that I kind of stand behind with you is the proof of students that he was teaching people, which I understand, that you want to go private, and there's a certain amount of people that will actually say, hey, this works, and then they go back into private. But you also have other students that, come on and say, no, actually, I've opened up my trust. It works. It does this and that and the other. And not only that, though, you actually, have proof yourself of different court cases and different things like that. Was there ever anything pertaining to David that actually had that type of proof or that kind of, student activity?
I don't think he was known to ever file a single lawsuit anywhere that ever went anywhere at all. I think that when Carl and I did a background on him, we looked him up, and all I saw was a bunch of family stuff. And they're saying Terrell says he was in his early 60s. Yeah, that doesn't jive. I'll tell you, in 2015, when I woke up, and this is when I hit the scene, 2015, by the time 2016 rolled around, I was doing an AM radio show with Randy Shannon, and we were talking about, this movement and everybody waking up. Yeah, Jamie, I know, but I can't hear you. Can you hear me, Jamie? Or hit your unmute button. Hold on a second. Let me see. Oh, I don't want to turn off your microphone. You have to unmute your microphone. Let's see. I'm going to turn on your camera. Hold on a second. I've never done this. I've never actually brought it. Can you invite? Okay. Let's see. It's not working. I don't know. So, Jamie, do this for the fourth time. Come on now. Write this down. Meetings.dialpad.com. Meetings.dialpad.com. Meetings.dialpad.com/Yahweh. I mean, that's the best I can do. It's all I can do. I emailed it to you. I sent it in smoke screens. I'm reading it to you. I can't do anything more. This is nothing else I can do. Anyway, let's move on with the show because we need to get through this. But anyway,
or can Jamie dial in the 188 number?
I have no idea because I can't see what's going on the other side. So I don't know. I don't know what she can do or can't do. I have no idea. I know Spence tried to come in and he had a hard time coming in, but I mean, I don't know any real reason why. But anyway, Jamie, come on into the meetings.dialpad.com/Yahweh. Come on in here. Come on. meetings.dialpad.com/Yahweh. I'm not saying it again. So I'm done. I'm all out on that. And I'm sure everybody here is tired of hearing it too. So let's get back to the call. All right. So anyway, so as far as I know, and I've looked him up everywhere. I've NCIC'd him. I've done backgrounds on this guy, all kinds of stuff, and paid money to have this done. And he really doesn't show up anywhere. Now, one thing I did see that came up on him was one of those PPP loan defaults. And anybody that's got a PP loan default, you might be going to jail. I'm serious, because they're going to try to make y'all pay that stuff back. I know. And I'm going to tell you, it was a big fat trap. It totally was. And it trapped all the low-level thinking people. And I think somebody created that up in Congress so a whole bunch of people could get away with ripping off the country. And then the low-level people would all get prosecuted for it. I think that's what happened. And I think that's what we're seeing right now. And anyway, so obviously he took advantage of that. Kenny Plaster took advantage of the PPP loan thing, and they're looking for him. So they may be looking for him for other reasons, not to be discussed tonight. But as far as I do know, they are definitely looking for him for that PPP loan. And David Straight did the same thing. So we'll find out if he gets arrested, I guess. Oh, shoot. I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't have all the answers. I wished I did. Let me, I'm going to try to send a message to, did she come in? There she is. She made it.
I'm here. Can
Hello,
you hear
Jamie.
me?
Perfectly.
Good. Can you see me or hear me?
Oh, yeah. So we can see you. You have spinach in your teeth. No, I'm just kidding. No, you don't. You look great.
I'm sitting on my couch. I've been on my phone all day.
She's like, I have no spinach in my teeth. You're a liar.
That's
I made you look, though. I made you
Thanks.
take your eyeball out.
Thanks.
Speaking of which, I'll tell you guys a funny joke. It's a really funny joke. So, and because it's in the season of Shabbat, and here we are. Okay. So I'm going to tell you guys a funny joke. There was a guy that went to, he's getting audited by the IRS, and the agent calls him up and says, you need to show up my office Monday at 9 a.m. You better be here, buddy. So Mr. Johnson is like, all right, I'll be there. So he rolls up, big old expensive car, but he's not driving the expensive car. It's the attorney. And this attorney is the baddest attorney in town. And I mean bad as in good, because that's just how people talk around here. But anyway, he's a really he's a well-known attorney. He's very popular, very respected, and so forth. So he goes into the office, and he's here to, with his client. At least that's what it looks like, right? So the IRS agent says, look, Mr. Johnson, we got to look over your books here, and I can tell that you're not a professional gambler. This is just not true. And he goes, I am a professional gambler. He says, no. And he goes, I'll tell you what, I'll make a bet with you right now, and I'll prove to you that I'm a professional gambler. He said, all right. He says, I'll bet you $500 that I can bite my teeth I can bite my eye with my teeth, with my right eye with my teeth. And he was like, you're going to bite your right eye with you know what? I'll take that bet. Okay. He takes out his teeth. He bites his eye, and he puts his teeth back in his mouth. Right? So it always is like this. You know what, Carl? I'm going to kick your butt for calling me on my phone in the middle of my call. You know better than that. You know better than that, Carl. That's bad juju. Anyway, back to the joke. All right. So the next thing was, so he says, well, Double or Nothing, I can do it with the other eye too. He said, what? He goes, you know what? I'll take that bet. He goes, he already got him on this, and the attorney's over there writing all this down, right? Writing it down. And the IRS guy is starting to sweat a little bit, but he's like, all right. Well, then the guy takes the glass eye out of his head, and he bites it and puts it back in. He says, there we are. Now, is that proof that I'm a professional gambler? He says, no, you're a con man. How dare you do that to me? You're terrible. And what are you looking at? The attorney's like, yeah, I'm just writing. I don't care. And he goes, all right. He goes, okay. I got it. I've got one more thing. And this is Double or Nothing on everything. Okay. And we're up to some big money now, right? So he says, I'm going to get on your desk. I'm going to pull down my pants, and I'm going to pee from here, and I'm going to hit your garbage can. Okay. From here. And it won't spill a drop anywhere. And if I do, you completely win. The IRS guy says, you know what? I'll take that bet, Hot Rod. I got you. Let's see you pull your out of your mouth and do that. Let's see how that works. He's like, okay. So he pulls down his pants and he pees all over this guy's office. And I mean, like, he had diuretic pee. It was everywhere. It was orange. It was red. It was all the wrong colors. Everything was wrong, right? And the IRS guy loses his SHIT. He starts running around the place. Did you see? I told you. And he looks at the attorney, and the attorney is just sweating bullets. And he goes, what's your problem? He goes, well, he actually is a professional gambler, because he bet me $1 million that he could stand on top of your desk and pee all over your office, and you would celebrate it and you'd be happy about it. And you know what? He won. End of story. That's a guy that knows how to contract.
Oh my word. That's bad. That's bad.
So
It's so bad.
it was an icebreaker because you were coming in and Terry's here. Everybody's here. It's good. So, okay. So you met David around the Bundy trial era, right?
Correct.
Wow. And I remember we did an interview back then. This was a few years ago. We did an interview about that, and he was telling you to do 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, and you were like, and you went and did your thing, and then he looked at your thing, didn't know what to do with your thing, and he left with his thing. That's basically the end of.
Yeah, we had a good relationship. I thought. Basically, we did become very good friends on the outside of it all. But when we involved the discrepancies between who believed what and what, that kind of put it into it, because he wouldn't look at anything that I had or that I believed or trusted. It was basically, he wanted things that way. He was doing it, and that was it. And he was telling people that he won my case.
I remember that.
In federal court, but yeah, he helped.
Won your case.
Correct, but he did help me a tremendous amount getting in front of that judge and standing up for myself. I will give that to David. He did. He gave. But
you made him go.
I did make him go.
You made him go.
I did make him go. Him and my husband stood in that courtroom with me, and because if David believed in that so much, why wouldn't he stand there with me? Right. So I made him go, and he didn't want to go. That was a big push. And we had to drive like 6 hours to go to that courthouse. So the whole way there, we're talking about it and what's being said and blah, blah, blah. Well, when I get there and I get to my court hearing, of course, it went a whole different route. But in the end, did he give me the strength to stand up for myself and believe in whichever way it went? Yes. Otherwise, I would have never done that. And
here's what I want to agree with you on. He did that for a lot of people. He did that for a lot of people. He may have gave a lot of false hope, but at least I will say that, you know what? I give him credit there. He definitely did that.
He was a very strong person in trying to, honestly, if you could just leave out everything else that was bad, that one good part of giving people that strength is all people need. They just need to know that they do have the ability. And it's not easy. It's scary. But for God's sakes, I'm nobody. And look what, my case got turned around. I mean, so many people just need to understand that they do carry that torch with them. They have that ability. It's just getting that information and getting it a little bit right. They don't have to have it all right, but a lot of it.
It helps to have it all right.
We
Right?
don't go to school to be lawyers or
No.
attorneys. We're not taught that. But the ones we trusted in that did go to school, they're not to be trusted. So
No.
we have to depend on nobody but ourselves. Fact.
Well, there's some truth to that. We have to find wisdom, and
Correct.
and in order to find wisdom, you've got to be humble, and that means that you've got to be able to take correction, and that means that you've got to. Somebody says, "Hey, dude, you're wrong." You need to say, "I'm wrong," and I'm going to tell you that's one of the things that, like what you were saying, he's just very stuck and very rigid in his own way, and that's not reasonable, and that's something we got to change in this movement. We really do.
Well, he was using my case to make profit off it, because when he was going to teach these groups, I went with him a couple of times, and when I would get up there to tell my story, as soon as I got to the part where he didn't have any more say in my case, and nor did anything he taught me, I stopped using, because it wasn't working. So as soon as I got to that part, he would dismiss me off the stage, and then we're going to go to a break, and I would come back, and he wouldn't allow me back on the stage.
How many cases do you know of that? I mean, because I tried to look him up and see how many cases he filed. How many cases, lawsuits has he filed, and how many has he won that you know of? Him personally.
I personally don't know. Personally,
I looked, and I didn't see any.
I've never seen any other than what he's told me. But I've never seen it.
And if you Google Kayla, if you Google Kayla Fitz, which is how I came to know who he was, that young lady has filed appeals and actually won. Actually done quite a bit of stuff on her own, and got pulled into this stuff, and then her whole life just got ruined. And because I mean, she had it up here, she really did, but it just didn't. She just didn't connect it. And I'll tell you, Jamie, here's where we're missing. All of us. I'm going to just tell all of you guys where we're missing it, honestly. And it's because I've been doing this for a long time. I've been doing this 9 years. I'm the longest and the oldest, hopefully the better looking one too. But anyway, the oldest teacher from this movement that still is sitting in prison somewhere, that hasn't ripped off a whole bunch of people that he's so mad. And I'm talking about lots of people. I'm talking about April Lejeune. I'm talking about Derek Gonzalez. I'm talking about they're everywhere. These teachers are everywhere, but right now they're all fading out and disappearing. And, do we really think he's dead? I don't. What are your thoughts?
Well, so a couple things. We don't, at first I did, because he came to see me to tell me goodbye. And he was very ill. He had a colostomy bag, and he was sick. But when he left, he had a traveling nurse with him, and he was fighting it and was getting better, from what I understood through the conversations after that. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he starts telling me he's back at the hospital several times. And yet his wife, Bonnie, is in jail. And again, I have to bring this up.
Sure.
If everything he's doing is working, how did he get arrested, and how did Bonnie go back to jail every time? So there's that.
Yeah, I don't see any fruits there. I know. And poor Bonnie.
Well, no.
No, about poor Bonnie? I don't know all the inside stuff, so you'll have to tell us about that.
We'll talk about that. But we have David going around to all these different places, doing all these groups, all these, I don't know if they're classes, I don't know what you call them. But anyway, he's profiting off of them. And then he set up a few, and then he got paid for them and never did them. So
wow,
nobody got their money back?
Wow.
Okay.
How much revenue do you think that might have been, just if you were to guess?
You think he's charging, what is it, $1,000 a person?
Okay.
If you go on his site, there's several sites, it tells you what they charge.
Okay.
And for documentation.
Yeah, like $2,500 for a PMA. Yeah, I think it's what he's got on there. $2,500 for a PMA, and
Plus,
everybody just thinks that it's not gonna.
Well, then he's got documentation that you have to purchase. So there's a lot of revenue coming in. But
Wow.
however, that being said, okay, so he owes some money somewhere. I don't know the exact details of that. I just heard.
That's a
So
lot of money, though. Wow.
then, okay, he passes away, and I've been texting. He was texting me back. I'm honestly concerned, regardless of everything this man has done, and everybody's conversations about him. David and I still had this friendship outside of all that. I
Right.
knew who he could be, but I knew who he was.
Mhm.
So I was concerned. And so with that being said, then I hear, okay, he passed away. He wanted to be buried in Arkansas. Why? You're from Oregon. Your whole family's here. Your 6 children. You have an autistic son who lives in Oregon in special needs areas, and he is growing into an elder adult. So this is becoming, David's just kind of taken off and just left his whole family here. But yet gets married to Bonnie. Nobody even knew I didn't even know he got divorced from Jean from Oregon. I had no idea.
And Jean is actually one of my students, and Jean has a completely different story, but
I would assume. So when I was to their property and we were doing some of these shows and talks and conversations, he was always not working. She was. And
right.
she was, trying to get him to get a job and whatever. In the midst of all this, we're hearing, oh, I've been in the military. I'm Secret Service. I've met
Running around with Donald Trump.
Yeah, I've met with Trump and Melania. No, he has not. Then his private nurse tells me, his traveling nurse, that he had an NDA. That's why he can't. Yeah. Listen, I was the first person in first class. I set him up out in my hometown with his first class to ever do any of this.
Wow.
And once we did that, he just got this little taste, and it just turned into this bigger and bigger and bigger monster. And so when I say that when now they say he passed, okay, there's no obituary anywhere.
Nope. Nope. Carl says there's no obituary anywhere either. That's what he was telling me today, actually yesterday.
None. So I got a hold of his son on Facebook. Finally, he responded. And it was really odd because he says to me at first, I have heard nothing. I haven't talked to Bonnie. I haven't heard of anybody my father's been staying with. They are not telling me anything. So then I tell him that I've heard from the traveling nurse and that she's been in contact with me and she wants to reach out to him, or that, he could reach out to her, because she was with David when David went to see his kids. Before he came to my place, he stopped at his son's house with the traveling nurse. So she actually met David's son. So I let him know that so he could understand, once again, this is legit. I am who I say I am. I'm not some crazy person. You know of me. Your dad spoke of me before. Anyways, so he says, after telling me he's met nobody, heard nothing from Bonnie, no one's helping, his family's been just completely going through a lot. And then all of a sudden, after I tell him I met this traveling nurse and that she was in Arkansas, that she had actually traveled to Arkansas to find out more information about his father. Now, all of a sudden, yeah, I've spoke to Bonnie. I actually went out there 2 days before my father died. And
yeah, something doesn't sound right.
It was my father's wishes to be buried there. And yet he just said he didn't hear anything. And then the next thing he brings up is how all these people are making up fake profiles and making profit when his father left him that was his money, that was his inheritance. So if that's your inheritance, and he says, I need an army to go stop all these people from taking my father's work and profiting off of it. And Wait a minute, that doesn't even sound right. Is that David talking or having his son talk for him? So he can make money off of it through his son?
I smell something there. What do you guys think out there? What do you guys think about that? I think there's a connection there.
And please know, if David's alive and fighting this cancer or getting it better, I want him to. But I think that there's so many lies and deceit and just
confusion,
bad things in this whole thing, that me knowing David as well as I do, that I don't even believe he died. Bonnie's,
well, I mean, because he was picking up stuff, right? You were saying he was driving around and picking up stuff from people, not like, hey, I'm gonna die and here's some stuff for you and I love y'all, bye.
Actually, right? If Tina's your student, you can ask her, did he pick up some stuff from your house?
He probably did.
He did. The traveling nurse told me she went with him and that he picked up some stuff. When I mentioned it to her, then she didn't want to talk about it. This traveling nurse is involved. She knows something. So
Michael Jackson had one of those too, you remember?
Yes. Well, but he didn't want Bonnie to know about her.
Oh, wow.
And then David's son asked me on that message the other day, well, when did she get a hold of you? And when did she travel to Arkansas? Very concerned.
Wow.
Anyways, very, very.
Yeah, I got to tell you, it doesn't sound right. And I mean, and of course, you know, I can tell you just a week before he went off, I mean, he was snooping on my pages. So, I mean, I see him. He comes into he's always looking after my TikTok page. He's always watching me doing something.
Well, phone. Why can't somebody ping his phone?
They can.
And that's where he's at, of course, but.
Well, you know, we know that Kenny Plaster fled the country, and he's actually he's in Mexico somewhere. And he was and as I said earlier, and you can Google this. This is all public information. So I'm not saying anything hateful about him or nothing like that. This is just information that's out there on the air. I have to watch it because these guys here, they get excited out here on TikTok. They really quickly. But you know, where there's confusion, there's no peace. No. And what I noticed is that when things started getting hot for Kenny and the state nationals and the state national movement, then they left and they went to Mexico. Then Carl did a background. You know, he's a former state trooper, and he's got a hold on him from the State Department. So if he comes back through, he says he's probably going to get picked up. I don't know what all that stuff means, but Carl knows what all that cop language means. And apparently he's got some kind of a hold on him. And then, of course, he's in default with his PPP loan, you know, those loans that they signed up for. He's in default on that. And people are going to prison. They just arrested 14 sheriff's deputies in some county for doing fraud on those PPP loans. So the Doge people aren't playing at all.
I knew it was a setup when they offered that to people.
Right. And Natasha, what do you think about all this? Did you have any? And Natasha is my co-host, by the way, and she's usually more than this, but she doesn't know everybody is here. But Natasha, what do you think about all this stuff right now? She always has great stuff to say.
Well, I think with the information, I went back and, you know, we were having some questions and stuff and, you know, trying to scour the internet. Again, with David, the only thing I can find is his seminars online around 2020. He charges about $150 per seat with an addition to, like what Jamie was saying, purchasing paperwork and stuff, and some people paying up to $6,000.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I was not able to find anything that his techniques actually work. With the American State National movement, you know, avoiding your taxes, you know, operating private and public, you know, different things like that.
Yeah, which one of these guys aren't getting it? Or is anybody having success with telling the IRS to go jump in the lake and not paying them anymore? Is anybody having success with that?
Yeah. And one of his other big things was that SISTA VQ account.
Oh, yes, of course.
Okay. you
That
know,
neon rainbow.
yeah, and then there is no, I cannot find, again, this is, just me scouring the internet, whatever the case is. There's no verifiable evidence that his methods worked legally, anything dealing with any trust, any courtrooms, anything. I can't find anything, you know.
And I
As
haven't
far
heard
as,
anybody walk out of a courtroom and say, I won because David Straight told me so. I
yeah,
haven't heard that.
yeah, there's no legal proof to that David Straight's techniques actually do work. Anything doing with any jurisdiction loopholes or private contract enforcements or anything. And again,
No
this is
commercial
just
liens, nothing, huh?
no commercial liens. Basically, the only thing that pops up is that him and Bonnie was both arrested in 2023 of April. I mean, outside of that, there's really, nothing else to
Wow.
go
Wow.
on. And I did find that there was, because I wanted to know if there was like a coroner's report or anything in dealing with his passing. The only thing that I can find is that his death has been confirmed with multiple sources of an obituary on Everloved as a listing by White Funeral Home Crematories in Castleville, Missouri. And I clicked on it, and all it was if you want to send flowers and so forth. It didn't say when he was being buried or, cremated or anything of that nature. And that's as far as I got.
Wow. Well, that's
Well,
wow.
they did say that they'd already buried him, and they were going to do a like 500 people funeral there in Arkansas that Bonnie was going to put on for him. So that I did hear, but that thing you're talking about, that obituary or whatever it's called through the cremation thing or whatever, that itself was like someone put that personally on there because you can do that, but they don't have the actual order of, his death.
So this is very interesting. So is Everloved, when you looked them up, did you see that Everloved, there's a thing on Everloved's in Arizona, Rogers, Arizona, that says his obituary is posted. And then you got Walker's Funeral Home, and there's another obituary. There's a David Lawrence. Oh, he's Lester. I'm sorry, different guy. My bad. So it looks like Arkansas.
Yeah, David was 62 April 20th. So that's another thing to remember. His
calculator's broken.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I saw. Yeah, thanks, Terry. That's what I saw. I pulled it up too. That's what I got too. I kind of pulled up the same thing, and then there's some other stuff. The Sovereign Citizen Watch says that David Straight died of cancer. Followers claim he was silenced by the cabal. Must have put something in his bag. I don't know, man. You know what? I'm gonna tell you. I think this guy took the money and ran. I just do. And I say this because you know what? There's so many students, there's so many teachers that have done the same thing. And not only that, but they leave and they come back. What's that guy? Chris
Hauser.
Who?
Chris Hauser?
Yeah. Chris Hauser's that's a guy that will peek out and then he disappears for a while, turns off his phone, and then he comes back in like 3 months when he runs out of money or something. I don't know. He does the same thing. What's his name? Did the same thing too. Patrick Devine did exactly the same thing. And he said that he had, and I met the man, and I'll tell you, he said that he had all these lawsuits and the government was coming to get him, all the same stuff this guy's saying, because he was doing so much for the freedom movement. Well, if he was doing so much for the freedom movement, how come I can't look none of it up? Just saying. And then what was that other guy? Natasha, what's his name? He died penniless, but they took over his website. Jordan Maxwell. That's another guy did that very same thing. He disappeared the same way. As soon and what happened with him is he sold his rights or whatever to do all of his media stuff to some foreign interest group. And then the foreign interest group took all of his materials and just put his stuff everywhere. And it's still out there today, and left him high and dry. He's got nothing. And that man died penniless. He died penniless, if he died at all.
Well, I can tell you that David Straight texted me back in, I think it was October. And I had asked him how he was doing, and he said he was just tired. And he just doesn't have any peace in his life anymore.
Well, I will tell you, from this walk, this is a walk of purity. And if you take anything bad and you corrupt your walk, they're going to come after you. And they will. And the first thing that our adversary will always do is he will come for your peace. You could have the best steak in the world. You could have the best bed in the world, but only Yahweh can give you the peace to enjoy that steak. And only Yahweh can give you the peace to make you sleep at night.
Amen.
And this is why you got to walk the line. Those of you guys that are waking up out there, stop looking at the TV. Stop looking at sordid ways to get ahead on the game. This is a time for you to purify your life. This is a time for you to set the record straight all the way around, not just from your perspective, but to clean your life up, to get yourself ready. Because this knowledge, Jamie, this knowledge is not for everybody. And most people, it will destroy them.
Well,
and I've seen it happen.
A lot of them take, and I'll say this honestly, it's like David, he would take, information from different people that he would learn, but he only took a little bit of it, and then didn't investigate enough of his mind into the rest of it to finish it. So he had about 3 steps out of 10 that really needed 10 steps. And that's the truth. People are
Uh-oh. Jamie's coming back. Hold on. Sorry about that, you guys. We had a little technical. Go ahead. There you go. Now you're back.
My daughter was calling. I apologize. Anyways, basically, when you're learning this information, you're not going to learn it overnight.
Nope.
You're not going to understand it in one day. And if you're really trying to protect yourself and your family, and you want to do it correct, you have to, first of all, pray about it. Second of all, put your ears to it, and your heart. If you're not going to do those things, you're not going to do anything right.
You're going to fail. Yeah. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And I'm going to tell you, when I woke up in 2015, I had all these people pulling me this direction. I had these Anna Von Wright people pulling me this direction, and she was around back then. David was not. But I had these Anna Von Wright people trying to pull me back. And I had this negative averment, some stupid negative averment thing that they wanted me to file with I don't know, to kill my social security card and kill my citizenship and turn off all the lights. And what they're telling you is they're telling you that this is a bad part of you. And it's not a bad part of you. It's a part that you just don't understand. It's a part that they didn't teach us about. It's a vehicle that you have within you that allows you to do things that an immigrant cannot do in this country. And I think one of the biggest flaws that he had in his system was, and the idea is to disassociate yourself, leave the country, but not leave the country, but leave the country on paper, and then come back and come get your CESA-QB trust. And the thing is, it's abandoned property. When you abandon stuff like that and you tell them, hey, man, I don't want to do this anymore, and I'm not going to pay taxes, and I'm not going to do this. See, we have to understand what taxes really are, Jamie. And Jamie, that we don't know what they are. We think that we're paying taxes because we go out there and it takes so much blood, sweat, and tears and time for us to get those stupid coupons. But the reality is this: they all go in a big circle. And if you understand where you are in your process, you'll understand exactly how this stuff works. You ever notice that the rich people don't care how much gas costs? They don't care. It doesn't matter. And I'm going to tell you, where I live, I was out today, okay, 4 miles from my house. I saw an Aston Martin. I saw 2 Lamborghinis and all kinds of other stupid stuff. This is where I live. I live in a very nice area, okay? But but these are all private people here. And one of the reasons that I live here, I know y'all be like, oh, well, excuse me. No, I drive a Lincoln. I drive like a hoopty here compared to what everybody else drives. And it's not even old, but still, it's to them, I mean, to what everybody else drives out here. It's, I mean, they all got $120,000 brand new Hummers driving around out here and stuff like that. So, and there's more cyber trucks that I know what to do with. It looks like an episode of Buck Rogers every time I see one of those go by. I'm like, oh, stop it. But my point is this: when you start operating in the private and you start moving this way, you start learning it's not about the car. Your car loan, nothing about the car. Just take the car and throw it in the trash. Natasha's learned this firsthand. She's learned. I mean, because think about it, Jamie. Let's just say that we're banks, right? Let's just say that we're bankers. It's our first day here. We opened up the store. Me and Jamie and Natasha, we got the Tim, Jamie, and Natasha Jordan Bank and Trust, okay? And we decided to open today, and we're gonna do it like we think it's supposed to be, like we're kindergartners, okay? Like we got Natasha's got some cash over here, Jamie's got a little cash over here, and I got a little cash over here. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna borrow it. We're gonna loan it to people. Now, why would you loan money on a depreciating asset? Why would you loan money on a car that loses money every single month? I mean, we know the rules, Jamie. We know that when it leaves the lot, you've already lost 30%, 20% of your ride. Well, those of you that take my class, you're going to know why. And the reason why is this. So I'll tell you why. It's because the equity on your property gets split, and they give legal title to the state, and they give you what's called equitable title. Simple as that. This is something David could never explain, by the way, but it's very simple. Okay. And here's the other part. This is when you were talking about the stuff you can't finish. So knowing that it makes no sense for our bank to loan money on some stupid car loan like that, because it doesn't make sense. How are we going to recoup our funds? What happens if he doesn't make his payments and he owes all this money? How are we going to get it back? Oh, well, here's how they get it back, boys and girls. It's not about the car. It never was about the car. The car is just a distraction over here. What it's about is the security agreement. And what you guys will learn in my classes is how to capture that, and how to capture those security agreements, how to capture your notes, and more importantly, how to cash them, how to get them so the money can come back in your pocket. So if gas is $12 a gallon, who cares? It won't matter.
But they didn't want to
tell you. Say again?
They didn't want to teach us all this.
No, because they don't know it. They haven't done it. And I have. This is what you're going to learn from me. This is what happens when you stop by my channel for 30 minutes and you look at my stuff and you go, oh, I can go sell that. And then you go out there and you go sell it. But the problem is, just like what you said, Jamie, it can't finish all the sentences. And when I started kind of coming after him, that was my hook. I would tell them, I'll finish every sentence he can. Every one of them, not some of them, any of them. And I welcome any of you guys out there, okay? Ask me any question you want. Ask me anything you want.
But David only took what he learned from other people and was living off of their skirt tails of information and putting everything together that he thought was going to work, and then went with it because that's what he thought worked, but it didn't. None of it worked. Absolutely none of it. I want you guys to do you remember the never ending document, or was it
never ending story?
Document story. Never ending document. And that's what people were using to get their children back, apparently. Well, I had people coming after me because I knew David and had done a few videos with him and stuff. They thought I was in on it. I'm like, I didn't even read the document. I wasn't in on it, nor would I be. If I don't know something and I don't understand something, I don't use it. I talk about what I know, and I've done.
And everything she does is sound, by the way. I've known, how long have we known each other, Jamie? 4 or 5 years now?
We're getting older, grayer.
I know, right?
So a while.
Smarter too, though. So while you're in all that older grayer, we're also getting smarter too. Don't forget that.
That's the facts right there. And I gotta tell you,
Inex rules, baby.
Your stuff is good, and I think people need to understand. Again, get into it, understand it, and learn from him, because Tim can offer so many things, and it's not easy. It's not like, a lot of people just want to keep living and they want to hand stuff over to other people like they do attorneys. Just fix this for me. But
I get that too.
And it sometimes has to be that way. Some people just can't or don't know how or can't get it. But the more you educate yourself and the more you listen to Tim's classes and the more you listen to people that have been through this stuff and use it because they've been through it, those are the people you need to open your ears to.
We just had a student like 3 weeks ago. And we filed one answer to $1 million lawsuit. And now his case is set for dismissal on July the 15th. Done.
Amen.
One response. Why? Because we moved in equity, Jamie. Because we moved with all the right components. We didn't show up in the courtroom and say, oh, look at me. I didn't put my feet up on nobody's chair. We didn't even have to show up, man. Because we're operating in our jurisdiction.
And it's very
simple.
Myself included. I haven't learned it all. The equity part.
But that's why you're coming on board.
Well, yeah, and I need to.
We're going to learn from each other. This is going to be a good experience, you and I.
I've passed over a lot of the law, legal, those remedies, and let me tell you, there's a lot of them. Mm-hmm. But with what you're doing, I believe it should be done first. In my understanding, before you follow through with any, it's almost side by side, of course, but it's important that we know this. And I don't know why I've never sat down and taken such a hold of it, but talking more, I'm starting to understand the importance of it and how we need to operate, because we're not operating in the way we are right now.
We're losing. We're losing. You know that Judiciary Committee just released their as a matter of fact, I was at the Attorney General's office today I was here in Austin. I was actually drove to the Capitol, and I was at the Attorney General's office today speaking to them about what's going on in Houston County. And I didn't tell you all this, but Wednesday I have another oppressive hearing. This is 5.5 years since my arrest on a Class A misdemeanor. And if this isn't government oppression, I don't know what it is. But you know what? They keep coming. And they keep asking me for more money and more money and more money. And here's the problem, Jamie. When you serve the Almighty, you start to realize it's not your money. You start to realize it doesn't matter whose money it is. But here's what you really start to realize. He can dump it in your lap. He can make your cup overflow. All you got to do is humble yourself. They set the per diem on my case at $7,500. That means for any attorney to take this Class A misdemeanor case charge, which is sissy as you don't know what, but for anybody to take it, the judge required a $7,500 per diem. That means that I have to pay any attorney that takes this case $7,500, $5,000 cash bond. Okay. The maximum fine for this is only $4,000, but my bond exceeds that. And I've actually been on bond for the last 5.5 years while these monkeys are trying to figure out what they're doing up there. So Wednesday, keep me in prayer, you guys, but I'll be in Houston County, Texas, appearing. And something I noticed today, Natasha, this will be interesting, is that the prosecutor is no longer the prosecutor. So now there's a new prosecutor. And the reason that there is a new prosecutor versus the old prosecutor is because the old prosecutor only had a $2,500 bond, because this is, after all, ticket court. But we're trying to make it a federal court by giving me a $5,000 cash bond for a little sissy little ticket. But when somebody tries to prosecute that claim, they're committing securities fraud because they don't have enough bond to show up and play. And that just might be why somebody's not showing up to work anymore. And I will teach you how to do this in my class. So you don't have to show up and beat on your chest. I'll show you how to move quietly, administratively, And more importantly, I can show you that it works. And the more that these little towns want to try to play, and they want to come after me, and they want to do all these things to make me quiet so I don't give you guys this information, the more they try to do this, the more they're going to test. And the more that they test, and the more that they wage war against me, what they don't understand is they wage war with my Heavenly Father.
Yep.
And right now, Tim Dameron's winning them all. And everybody that's come against me, everybody, they're either looking for jobs or they're dead. It's not because I killed them, by the way. They're dead. I mean, I'm serious. Like one guy fell off the roof, and and from what I understand, the judge on my case actually has terminal cancer, or some kind of cancer, from what I understand. And well, that's a problem. And then all this other stuff happened too. And then we had the securities fraud. And then when you guys learn about how to operate in common law, and you start catching these courts changing dates on documents, and you're filing them properly, like I'm telling you to, and you have a stamp on there that says, no, this is the filing date. And they say, this is the filing date. That's called tampering with the mail. And that got a little somebody else in trouble down there too. And what's really cool about that is if you know how to play your cards right, you just send them to the post office. They have their own cops. They have their own prosecutors. They even have their own jails. It's beautiful. So when we start to learn to operate in common law, we start to use our pieces. We start to use these tools that we actually have, Jamie. And this is when you get stuff done, not sitting around beating on your chest and staying up till 3 a.m. with Derek Gonzalez or whoever else to try to figure this stuff out. It's not going to get it done.
No, it's like the family court my daughter's in.
Oh. I saw your paperwork too, by the way. My goodness, man. I got to tell you, beautiful paperwork, by the way. Looks really good. But
we sent a review.
Sorry, but
listen, I just am, it's unreal to me that they violate as much as they do. But because the ADRs are allowed, which is really what's going on here, they've turned into securities. They've turned into it's profit. It's
all about the paper.
It's
not about you. It's about paper.
Yeah, nothing to do with your children's,
well-being.
Nothing. It is such a lie and a betrayal. But the ADR is what really turned in 1990s when they allowed that, is why it turned the way it did. But when we sent a review up to the highest judge in the family court, and we live too far away to just hand it over, so we did a certified signature. Well, all of a sudden, we're not getting any response. We're not hearing anything. Well, we call up there and they're saying, well, we don't know where those papers are. They're just gone. Nobody ever got.
Here's what I want you to think about doing. This is just after reading your paperwork. You need to file a motion for mistrial. I mean, let me rephrase that. Let me not say that. That was completely wrong. I would recommend that you look at filing a motion for. I say it because she's like my little sister over here, and I just love her to death. But I would consider filing a motion for a mistrial. Now, while you guys are on the call, let me tell you what a motion for mistrial is actually for. And this isn't legal advice. It's because I've been through this crap myself. So when you file a motion, now usually when you hear this is very interesting, because most of the time when you hear, oh, we're going to go for a mistrial, usually when you hear stuff like that, it's usually a judge saying that. So understand that the obligation falls first to the judge, I believe, to file that motion, to move for mistrial. And these are the conditions of mistrial. If there's a personal prejudice against the defendant, if there's any inappropriate or unlawful behavior going on, if there's any kind of like excessive bonds, like a $5,000 bond on a Class A misdemeanor. See, that's using a bond as an instrument of oppression. I hope you guys are paying attention in Houston County tonight. And if you're doing that, then that obligates the judge to move for a motion for mistrial. So when they don't do it, it's usually because they have a personal vendetta. But that is also called a personal prejudice. And all of these things will start to demonstrate, okay? And understand this is a very powerful word in your paperwork. When you use the word demonstrate, it's a demon that states. So when you're telling them that they have demonstrated that they're a bunch of idiots, or they're the courts in default, or whatever your situation is, when you use the word demonstrate, you are telling them this is what they're doing. Okay. When one thing we have to understand is that when these guys are a bunch of gaslighters and manipulators, all of them are. Okay. And their father is the devil. That's right. And that's why they wear those black robes. That's why they do. That's why they do what they do. And this is why they lie to us. This is why they make it look like, oh, it's about the law over here, but it's really not. It's actually about equity over here. It's about what you've accepted. It's about what you've performed, just like the car deal, you guys. And we're not getting it because we don't understand how this stuff works. Look, it takes time to learn this, okay? It takes a disciplined mind to learn this. And more than that, you need to know who woke you up, and you need to give him some credit. You need to give him all the credit. You need to give him all the praise, because without Yahweh and without his wisdom, without his peace, you could be a homeless person sitting over there somewhere and just be so blazed out of your mind and just gave up. It happens. I talk to homeless people all the time. And I'm telling you, when you see them, you could see it in their eyes. They just gave up, man. And they gave up because they didn't have the tools to get through. Guys, y'all are waking up right now. You have no excuses. You have no excuses at all. Your heavenly Father woke you up. David Strait didn't wake you up. I didn't wake you up. Nobody woke you up but him. And if you want to keep learning this process, you better start following him. I didn't say go back to church. I didn't say that, because you ain't going to find him in there either. He's not there. You're going to find some subwoofers, and it's a great show and all, but you're not going to find him there. Okay. You're going to find him in obedience. You're going to find him in the things that you do. And if you act like
relationship,
if you act like a child of the King, you're going to get treated like one. Just like Jamie, my friend Jamie here. And you young ladies out there, y'all could learn a lot from, actually, you could learn a lot from both these ladies I have on this call right now, because both of these ladies embody femininity. Okay. And I don't even know if that's a word, but they embody being a feminine person. Okay. And that means they don't talk crazy to other people. They don't have to act like a man in order to get their point across. They don't have to throw a bunch of masculine energy around. They can maintain their persona in their own femininity, and nobody's going to think otherwise, because they know how to use the tools in their toolbox. This is what we're missing. This is what we're missing, Jamie.
I want to say one thing so vital. During my court hearing, didn't matter, my husband, David, the judge, the only one that held me up in the midst of all of that was the Almighty God.
Absolutely.
He saved me and gave me the strength. I didn't do it. I would have never done it. I wouldn't have done it without him, because without him, I'm scum. He brings us to these parts in our lives. We have, first of all, the devil's liar. The devil is an absolute.
I'm talking to a friend. What you doing?
Oh,
somebody's on. There we go. There we go. Grandkids.
The devil is such a liar, and he will make you believe things and distract you and convert you into other issues and divert your life to a whole nother way. You're going to have two roads every day to take, and you just got to pray about it. You got to talk about it and let him hear you, and you will hear him. Let him hold you up. You guys, I say this because, and again, you said it. I'm not telling you to go to church.
Nope.
It is
getting in there.
Relationship we have. And it's so vital. And I would have never spoke to this in depth about this, but my own personal experiences, I was shaking in my shoes going up to that federal 9th district judge in my case.
Yep.
Didn't have a clue what was going to happen. I was facing 20 years in prison.
Yep.
I had no one to trust but him.
What we do right outside the courtroom.
And right outside that courtroom, on the court steps, we held hands, all of us. We prayed. We walked inside and we prayed right outside the doors of the courtroom, held hands, and we went inside and prayed.
Oh, yeah.
They don't like that.
Mm-mm.
The devil doesn't like it.
Mm-mm.
So let me tell you, his promise is never void.
That's right. And you ever notice that there's never any windows in the courtrooms anymore? Do you know why? Because they are trying to keep him out.
Yeah,
they're trying to keep Yahweh out of there. Yeah, they don't want him in there.
Well, I just opened the door.
So for a second, and we gotta get off the call here. So the difference between lawful, somebody muted me. Don't mute me. Okay. So so the difference between lawful and lawless, what is that really? Is there a difference between lawful and lawless? I'm going to tell you that there isn't. If you're following the law, that means Torah is over here and you're not following it. Let's give a perfect example of that. I know everybody's like, what is he talking about now? This weirdo. Well, this is in closing. This is something for you guys to think about. Jamie, think about how many variations of murder there are. How many charges could you get? Like hundreds of them. Like if you look up the murder statutes, it's like a phone book. Now, why would they have so many variations of murder? Because when we go back to Torah, Torah has one variation of murder. It just says don't kill. What do? We pass a law, now we can kill babies. Then we pass a law, now we can't kill babies. So what are we doing? We're acting in a lawful society, but the reality is it's lawless because all those variations of murder are there so that you can get away with murder. Because out of one of those scenarios that's in that murder, those stack of murder charges, there's a sliver in there. There's a way that you can backdoor that somehow and you get away with it. And I'm going to tell you, I had a landlord. Oh my God, scared me to death. Years ago, I had to put her in jail too. I thought she was going to kill me. Anyway, she killed her husband and she told me she did. She's rich, lots of money. And she owned my restaurant. And, I was renting the property from her after the other idiot stopped paying rent. So I took over the lease on it, got to know her pretty well and talked to her. Not as much as I wanted to. But anyway, she told me, she said, yeah, I did a contract murder on my husband and I got away with it. Now, isn't that the biggest cliche you ever heard in America? He's getting away with murder, Bobby. Oh, where do you think that came from? There's a difference between being righteous and being lawful. We don't need to be lawful. We need to follow who woke you up. That if I could line it out and just say, look, there's the difference, okay? This is the difference between serving their father, the liar, or do you want to serve this guy? Or you want to serve Yahweh? Because he's going to help you out. And just as he did with Jamie, when she walked in that door, everything dropped. Let me tell you, I sat before Judge Dwight Pfeiffer last year. And this guy was so out of his mind when he came in there. He was, and I hope y'all paying attention in Houston County. He was sitting in the witness stand trying to direct the court. This guy was so out of his mind. That's the power of prayer. That's how powerful our Yah is, because he will hand them over to their own retributed mind. And they will sit over there and they will exterminate themselves every time. Guys, you know why we got this channel called TikTok? Because it's TikToking, okay? And it's closing down. And when the clock strikes 12 and there's no more TikTok, something's going to change and something's going to happen. And you mark my words, it's going to happen. I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. We actually went a little over tonight, but I want to thank all of y'all for being here. If you have questions about my classes, go to my webpage, set an appointment with me. We're not pitching any classes tonight. I want to wish everybody a wonderful and fruitful Passover. Take your time, okay? Examine yourself. Humble yourself. You know what? Jamie did that today, and she got an instant boost of power. I saw her eyes just light up because she captured that humility. There's a lot of power in humility. Those of you guys that are going through stuff right now, Yahweh inhabits the praises of his people. Praise him. You see him. I don't care if you're crying in your lap. I don't care if your world is falling apart and you're watching it happen. You sing to him and you praise to him, because here's what's going to happen. He'll take you out. He'll save you. He'll raise you up. Like it says in Psalms 40, he'll set your feet upon the rock and you'll stand firm. And I don't care what comes. Psalms 91, it says 10,000 may fall at your right side. Another 500 may fall at your left, but nobody will harm his children. You need to decide if you're going to be his children. This isn't a religious talk tonight. This was information tonight. I hope you guys enjoyed the call. Natasha, close us out tonight. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate y'all. Can you hear me, Natasha? Or the grandkids tie you up? I think they tied her up. It sounded like they were getting pretty hostile over there. I think she's actually a little preoccupied. Anyway, I want to thank everybody for being here on the call. Remember that Yahweh loves you so much, okay? And I'm going to tell you, remember, TikTok is ticking, okay? And it's ticking, and it's your choice whether you're going to win or lose this game. I promise you. But Yahweh, he's got all the money. He's got all the power. All he's waiting on is you. Jamie, thank you so much for being on the call. We're going to be doing some other interviews this in the next week or so after Passover, of course. And we'll be doing some more information, some more stuff. And as we get more information about David, we'll let you guys know if we hear anything else too. My prayers are with David and his family. If this is legitimate, and I hope that everything is coming together for them. I hope that Yahweh blesses these people according to their measure, every one of them. Anyway, thank you all for being here. Good night, everybody. Blessings, everyone.